to face a side full of internationals. Every player costs about £50 million. What do you say to your players?
We don't go into detail about things because that will frighten the life out of them, seriously. They know, they watch Match of the Day every week, they know how good they are, and we'll approach it exactly the same way as when we've played the Championship clubs and Burnley in previous rounds of the competition. We can't do too much on them because we don't know what team they're going to play for a start, so I think that helps in some way. So just to focus on ourselves, the players, do our jobs, and hopefully they'll have a terrible night. Which is going to take for something to happen in our favour. They're certainly going to have an off night. I can imagine all three teams, when the draw was made, it's almost a buy for them into the final, you know, and all they want is us. And especially when they've got so many big games, because they know they won't have to put the team out. Tottenham and Chelsea, they're going to have to put, you know, good teams out to play each other against us. They knew that they probably didn't have to do that, so it's almost a buy for them.
When you first arrived at this club, I think the trips were Gresley away, Atherstone away, Merthyr away. Did you ever imagine...
They were the more glamorous ones.
Did you ever imagine back then that you could ever reach these types of heights?
No, not at all. Our aim back then was getting in the conference and establishing ourselves as a conference club. And then the club's gone on, you know, and the 2 years in the Championship were extremely special, I think, for our club. And I think this time it's special because it's been 4 games or something like that. You can get a fluke a third round of the FA Cup like we did against Manchester United and stuff, but when you win sort of 4 games, 3 top 8 Championship sides and a Premier League side, that's no fluke, you know, to get to a semi-final. So this one's special, and I think everybody needed a lift after last season's relegation, because we're still getting over that. What happened in the last 4 minutes of the season, and it'll be some time, I think, before we all do as players in the club. So this helps.
You mentioned getting the club into the league, you're obviously managing in the Championship, that game against Manchester United. Yeah. Where does this Manchester City tie rank in the club's achievements?
Well, because it's a semi-final, then it's right up there. So in those days, I think we played 3 or 4 games just to get to the third round of the FA Cup when we played Manchester United 12 years ago or whatever. But being a semi-final of a major competition, you know, everybody's in it, 92 clubs, Tottenham, Chelsea, Man City and us. There's something wrong there when you see our name in amongst the last 4 with the others. So it's right up there, certainly, in the club's achievements.
And just finally, what do you realistically want to get at?
The experience is going to be, honestly, more and the learning and seeing the players firsthand and how good the players are for our players, because we tell them, you know, to watch the best in the country and watch them, and to see it on TV is different. Like last night, you can appreciate it, but to actually see them firsthand, how quick, how strong, agile they are, will be an eye-opener for our lads, honestly, because they're much better live than they are on TV. You appreciate it much more, how good they are.
Nigel, you mentioned the route that you've taken to get here and winning in one-legged games, as it were. Yep. How does that change when it becomes a two-legged tie?
It's more difficult because they get 2 bites at you. We got away with a few in earlier rounds. Aston Villa missed a penalty in the last minute against us, and then somehow the rebound got over the bar. And I think we've had our breaks in this competition. It just makes it harder to get those breaks when you're over 2 legs rather than a one-off. If you had them here in a one-off game, anything can happen over 2 legs, especially one at the Etihad. Certainly puts it in their favour.
Are they beatable over 2 legs?
I'm not sure. If they were playing anybody in the Premier League apart from the top 3 or 4, you'd all be saying Man City are in the final. So we're in bottom half of League One. When you're asking me, have we got a chance? You wouldn't give, most teams in the Premier League a chance over 2 legs against them. The only thing is that in football, we said you always have a chance. Always have it. No matter how slim, you always have a chance.
You mentioned the fact that the league games around this are more important for you. You've said that to the players. So will the message over these 2 legs just be go out, enjoy it, and learn as much as you can from it? Yeah, and bonus. It's a bonus for the club to get there financially. It's a big boost, and I think it's been great for our confidence as a team, because we've played well this season without getting our rewards in the league. So to get them in the cup means that we're doing something right. And can help the belief of the players, and it gives the supporters, gives everybody a buzz. The phones are ringing, everybody wants to come to the home leg. Not everybody will be able to, with only 6,900 getting in, but
we say when we go up next Wednesday, I think we're going to pull up at the little stadium outside, because I think that's probably where we used to play, and I think that holds more than ours, doesn't it?
Good, I think it might be close. Yeah.
I think where the ladies play, I think that's more sort of our level.
Do you think there's going to be a moment where you stand there and maybe even now when you just look at the trophy and think back to when you arrived at Burton and think, wow, look how far this club's come?
Yeah, we think that most days, honestly, because Nigel had been a supporter for many years, and people like him will know. We're in the Dr. Martens, South, and we were going to places that have been mentioned, and we've worked incredibly hard, the club has, to get to this stage. So, and as I say, the only downside we've had in 20 odd years is that last 4 minutes of the season when we got relegated, and apart from that, it's all been positive stuff, and the club's been on the up, but that one's still it's gonna get to us for quite some time.
Do you think you'll feel it and feel it for those other people at the club who've been involved for so long, that how special this is?
Of course, when you're such a small club, you know the supporters, you recognise them. And we used to get 400 or 500 people back at Eaton Park when we first arrived. It's the same people still coming now, and we've got a few thousand more, but essentially it's the same people, and you talk to them. That's the difference with a club our size. You retain that sort of intimacy with the supporters. And when we go away from home and we take a couple of hundred fans or something like that, the faces. When we got to Bristol, the bus had just arrived, the supporters bus. I think we only took one, and you're sort of talking to the supporters as we get off the bus, because you know them. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for coming down again, and that same old faces. I think that's lovely, and I think a lot of the players appreciate that, and the supporters do too.
And from a personal level, again, how special it would be to come up against someone like Pep Guardiola, maybe, just speak to him for 10-15 minutes. I know you've come up against good managers before, but I mean, Guardiola is arguably the best in the world. Yep,
I think there's a handful, and that's it, I think Spurs, Maurizio at Spurs, Jurgen Klopp, Mourinho, maybe Ancelotti. You've got maybe 5 or 6 in Europe. And he is right up there in the elite. So I'll be in the same boat as the players, and trying to glean whatever I can from him, learn whatever I can from him. The way that his teams play. I don't think we could do that with some of our lads. But just his approach and everything, I think it's been wonderful watching them for the last few years.
Thanks,
Nigel. Obviously talk about the Man United game 13 years ago, and how that sort of set you up as a club. You were a conference club there, 90 minutes against Man United as a conference club, or 180 minutes against Man City as a League One club. What's a tougher prospect?
I think this one over 2 legs. I think the pitch is going to be a bit better this time round, if anybody remembers the pitch against Man U. But we'll be facing similar sort of tasks, when Rooney and Ronaldo came on after 59 minutes here for Manchester United. It's a similar sort of prospect, with the likes of the quality that Manchester City have. So, but away from home, it's a different thing. I think when they're on their own patch, as you saw last night, they're as good and as confident as anything. That's it, when they've come off a relatively poor period for them, or they've lost a couple of matches, have they, recently? And then they still can play like they did last night, and keep the title race open. So it says an awful lot about them.
You see, obviously you'll learn off Guardiola, the players will learn a lot. Is it a bit of a balancing act with the players to say that, but also make sure that they're not going to be overawed, and make sure that at the end of the day it's still 2 teams in a cup semi-final?
That's it, and as I say, we learned that at Sheffield United when we played Spurs. We lost the game down there 1-0, and then Ericsson scored early at Bramall Lane, and we said to the players, even with 2 goals in it, just hang on in there. And then we got 1 back and scored another one within 2 minutes, and all of a sudden you're all level. So anything can happen, especially with the second leg being here. Just try and stay in it as long as we can. And don't be overawed, just go and enjoy, give everything and enjoy it, but don't forget you're there to try and get something.
Obviously a lot of big matches in recent history, promotion matches, relegation matches, things like that. Where does a cup semi-final, how does that differ perhaps from, you often talk about obviously the importance of the league, how does it differ for those games at Doncaster and Preston last season, things like that?
There's more at stake in the league games. Certainly the Doncaster one, when we got promoted a couple of seasons ago, 2.5 years ago, that was the most nerve-wracking. This won't be, because nothing's expected, and certainly Preston was a raw experience. So there's more at stake for those, for a period of 9 months. A League Cup semi-final. In a lot of ways, the job's done, but we still got out a very, very outside chance of achieving, a miracle. That's what we'll try for.
Talk about the players. Sense this game approaches, a bit of a change in the camp. You talk about the injuries. I suppose you've also got to manage making sure that the players are back and focused on the next game and making sure they're right for that. Rather than that, I think there's a few say I'll be fit to train on Tuesday. we need them training today, not on Tuesday. We need people at Rochdale, and we need some of the injured players back for that as much as anything, and certainly for Gillingham. So what we don't want the game to be is a negative impact on the season. Whatever the score, we can't let it affect us, because we've still got 20 odd league games to play, and I say they're the important ones. So whatever the result on Wednesday night, don't let it affect the league season. One player who obviously won't be playing, who's played a big part in your run to this stage is Jake Hesketh. Obviously picked up an unfortunate hamstring injury. He's back with Southampton. I suppose first things first, that individually disappointed for him, and he played such an important part that we spoke to him after the Middlesbrough game, and he was buzzing for whatever was coming next, and obviously won't get that opportunity now. I thought it was unbelievably bad luck for him to do his hamstring. Was it Boxing Day? Was it? Rules him out, and hopefully he's going to come. We were going to invite him. He's back at Southampton having treatment now, and we'll just monitor how his injury is. But he scored some important goals for us in the competition, and if he can't be there on the pitch with us, hopefully he'll be there, in the dressing room and everything. We'd love him to be with us. But such bad luck happens in football, and then somebody else will get an opportunity because of that. You said obviously you're going to be monitoring going forward. Obviously things have to be done by the end of January, so it's still up in the air about obviously whether there'd be any chance of getting him back. Or
that's it. We'll just see how his treatment goes, and he'd had a serious hamstring injury a year or so ago, so it's a bit more complicated with that. So we'll just keep, but with Southampton treating it before, it makes sense for him to be back there, and then we'll just keep in touch and see how he is towards the end of the month.
And does prospect of these two ties, does that have any impact? The January window opened, when you're speaking to targets or whatever, is that a little sort of almost carrot to have there and sort of say, look, potentially be involved in this tie? Yeah,
we've talked to one or two clubs and agents and things, and said if they're not cup tied, then they may well be on the bench at Manchester City on Wednesday. So that's certainly an incentive that we can use to try and entice players. We've had no luck so far, obviously, so it's not been that much of one, but we'll keep trying.
Nigel, it's 30 years since you first played in a League Cup semi-final. I don't know how much you remember of that, but Bristol City were third tier then, and they gave Forest the fright of their lives. They did.
I remember being the second leg was one of the coldest games I've ever been to and played in, and it reminded me of that. We talked about that because we were at Fleetwood the other week, and the lads were showing symptoms of hypothermia up there. Seriously, how bad it was. And the only other time we've been like that is Bristol City in that second leg of the semi-final. And it was a great feeling afterwards. Getting through, I think we got 0-0, did we, in the second leg, and got through, I think.
It was extra time.
Extra time, was it? All right, and I just remember just wanting to get in the bath and get warm afterwards. As pleased as we were, that feeling of getting in the warm bath was nice after the game, honestly, because we were freezing. But third tier, I can't remember them. I didn't know they were that low down, but they gave us a hell of a game over the two legs.
I know football's changed, but
just a bit.
That give you hope.
A bit, but I think the gulf now between the top teams and the third tier is massive, and that's the biggest concern for us going into Wednesday. The gulf in quality and everything that they have, and as I say, that's not even in just the first team. What they've got below that, the bench, and below that as well. It's much bigger gap than it ever was years ago. What else? Next up. Done.